Welcome back to the show. This is our player ratings episode for Aston Villa v Leicester City. They're hard to do when you lose and when you don't play too good. They're great to do when you're winning and you're playing great. So you still got to front it up and do the player ratings even when we're not doing so great. So let's get straight on in there, joined by Justin and Ryan for this one then. So if we head over then to our website, utvpodcast.co.uk, you want to go under Social Hub and Player Ratings. This is your chance to rate the Aston Villa players for their lineup for the game against Leicester. The average is on the right-hand side, so that collectively calculates what the majority of Villa fans have given each player. And then, once you've done yours, it'll just adjust the average. So I'll kick it off first. So I'll go with Martinez. Tough one. Conceded 4 goals. Some potentially he couldn't do anything about because, he's last line of defence at times in no man's land, having to come out and try and sweep a keep and just get in the way of a player. But, the pass to Kamara was just, criminal. You just can't play that pass in that area when he was being marked. Sometimes he's got to just go long at times if he, play out from the back, yes. But sometimes you might just have to launch it once in a while, just to ease a bit of pressure, especially if they are pressing well. So,
or even scream for it back. Do you know what I mean? Have the ball back off Kamara. If you put him in the shit, in the mud, then give it me back and I'll just launch it. Do you know what I mean? So there needs to be a bit of communication between them two, or whoever takes that ball off Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, work in progress still, isn't it? So
yeah.
I'd give him a 5. I don't know what to give him.
5 is fair.
I think
5 or 6 is fair. I think ultimately he made the mistake for the first. He can't do anything about the header. I don't think that's just point blank range. Very difficult. I think he will be disappointed when he was rounded for the 2 of the goals that he didn't maybe get a hand on them either as well. So I think he's probably his own biggest critic anyway, so he'd probably be very disappointed with today.
Yeah. Ryan, do you want to do Young, Conser and Luca Dean?
Yeah, I don't think any of the back 5 go above 5 for me, Luke. Young did okay. Sort of, he took that knock, didn't he? Took that knock in the first half. He was up against Christian, that left back. He was quite decent, he was, wasn't he? He was on debut. So that left-hand side, and coupled that up with Harvey Barnes, he did okay. But I think that knock did shake him, and never really recovered. And then Cash replaced him, didn't they? So I'll go for a 5 with Young. Who we got next? Konza. Weren't impressed with some of his passing, to be honest. Especially there was one at 3-2 when we were 3-2 down in the second half, and he gifted it to Iniacho. It was so sloppy and just summed up his afternoon. He got skinned by Maddison as well for the equaliser. So again, a 5 for Konza.
You can do Luca Dean as well then.
And but would a 5 be generous for Luca Dean? Yeah, a 5 for Luca Dean. Probably a surprise starter. Do you think he was put in because of Tete maybe to deal with that threat, or whether just was it?
No, to be fair,
or whether it's just he didn't want to throw Moreno in too soon, but by default and by Luca Dean's injury, he got in, and now Luca Dean was back, and he put faith in him, but obviously it was poor, isn't it? That goal,
personally,
for that
I think
goal.
he offered not a lot going forward. Terrible defending for the goal, and he was hooked at half time.
I mean,
that's a pretty
bad
day in the office, isn't it?
If you're Luca Dean and you're sort of thinking, we've just brought in another left back, I've not played against Southampton. I've been given a start at home to cement my place now. I own that shirt. That shirt's mine. Moreno, you've got to come and get this shirt off me. And he's dragged at half time. I mean,
He can have no complaints the next game, can I?
absolutely not. So, Moreno starts next game for me. 110% he starts that next game. So, Justin, you do Mings, Kamara, and Louise.
Again, I think you can't really give any defender more than 5 when you've conceded 4 at home. Whilst I don't think Mings was massively at fault for any of them, I'm trying to think, did he really do anything wrong for any of them? I think his positioning when the ball comes across the header that Dean should be marking him, he might be better positioned there to maybe more centrally in the goal to maybe, I always remember Paul McGrath, he was just always in the right place. When the ball comes in, he always seemed to get a flick on. I mean, even if he's just flicking it on, he doesn't get to Nacho. I mean, that's nitpicking a little bit. No, I wouldn't go.
I think he could have done better with the initial clearance, Justin. The initial header, because he sort of headed it straight back to where your guy delivered it from,
wasn't
for it to come straight
enough,
back in.
Was he? With his wasn't positive enough. I think they all sort of suffered from sort of nerves after those first couple of goals went in. They was all worried to death that another mistake was going to happen, and ultimately it did, didn't it? So I think you look to Mings as well to be a leader at the back, which he is. He's a leader for the club, and I think he was probably wanting in that respect as well a little bit today. A bit more. The one
thing I did notice about Mings today, and then sometimes the fan bases do this. Leeds fan base do it. Newcastle and Leicester did it today. They target Mings, and they were singing about him a lot, and it rattles him. I think he doesn't seem as composed when he's up against that sort of. But it's not abuse, but it's in the spotlight with the away fans.
I think he tries to prove himself when that happens, doesn't he?
I think he loses
just
focus.
Shakes
then.
you off his game a little bit. Yeah, I'd go 5. I think. Yeah.
Cool. Kamara.
I think maybe I think 5 again for Kamara. 4.2. I don't think you'll see Kamara have as low a points as this again all season for me, because he's a quality player, and I think he was dragged down to the level of people around him today, and he did make a couple of mistakes, and he wasn't his usual self. I mean, he did do some decent things. I think there was one moment in the first half when he received the ball with 2 players on him, and he just turned away from both of them and came away with the ball, which that's what he does, isn't it? But he'll be disappointed that he lost the ball and they went on to score as well. So again, conceding 4 at home and losing, you can't expect really. I think there's only one player you can see with that who's lifted his levels to a point where everybody else he should be at, and everybody else really was so well below par, really. And Louise probably marginally better today than Kamara, so I think 6 possibly. Again, 6 isn't a ringing endorsement of a great game, is it? It's below par, isn't it? 7 is par, where you would hope everyone should be at least, at minimum, should be 7s every week. And I think he probably, again, fell below where he would want to be each game. Didn't really commit, didn't really do a lot going forward either. I don't think, he would be disappointed with where his performance was today.
Yeah. I'll go Brendia. 7-8 for me. 7-8. What we saying? 7 or 8?
I'd say 8.
Yeah.
I think he what more could he have done today? Barring 2 inches twice, he scores 2 goals today, and he was the most lively. He tried to create things. He was good on the ball. He's tracking back, like I think I said on the preview pod, has improved immeasurably as well. So he's adding that to his game as well. And it's nice to see, to be honest. The one real shining light of the game today was how good Emi Buendia was.
Yeah, I think his final ball is improving as well. He's
not going to
look more, isn't he?
He's quicker on the ball, and he's moving
it
wide.
Quicker.
Yeah.
When he sees it, he
And
passes it.
as well.
Whereas
Yeah.
before,
But it's his pass and his movement after as well, because he passes it and then he looks to get into space to receive it again, to move it on. There's quite a few times where they went left to right like that, where he'd link up 1-2s and get the ball switched. So he is improving in that aspect.
Yeah. Ramsey took off at half time, wasn't he, Ramsey?
He was. Yeah. Which I felt, he didn't do that much wrong compared to everybody else.
No,
I think he can feel hard done by to have been taken off, to be honest. Because he does offer, he does offer legs in that midfield.
The problem for me with Ramsey is his ceiling is so high, and I think he's struggling to get back to where he was last season when he was absolutely outstanding. And I think he will get there. And I think he's just probably having a bit of an off period at the moment where he's trying things. He's trying to, he's good at running with the ball, isn't he? He's good at committing players and getting around the back. And it just never quite worked for him today. And I think he was the victim probably of a slight shift in tactical thinking at half time. He wanted to get Coutinho on because of, I think, the joy that Buendia was having. In and around. So I think, we have got another player like that on the bench. So why not try and chuck him on and see if we can have double bubble really for Buendia and Coutinho. It didn't quite work out like that, but Ramsey will come again without question.
Yeah, so 5. 5 for Bailey.
Another game flatters to deceive, doesn't it?
It just doesn't. It's just there's just not enough there for me. There's not enough
end product, is there?
There's not enough end product. There's not enough
conviction.
There's not enough. For example, when Harvey Barnes, you're looking at someone like Harvey Barnes, and we're having to double up on Harvey Barnes because he's that much of a threat. I don't see Bailey when he gets on that ball and he's driving. I just don't see it. I really don't see it. And I know on his day he can come out with an absolute perler. But like you said, Justin, it's another game that's just I've not seen anything.
By, isn't it?
And this isn't me being negative. If you go on all the different apps where you can check player ratings, they'll all rate him exactly the same. So don't feel like it's just me jumping on him, because it's not. But I've got to be honest.
I think if you look at the 3 players there, Bailey, Watkins, Coutinho, they're all players that we're all going to say the same thing about. On his day. On his day, he's great. On his day. I think on his day, he's going to be the reason why they all probably at some point will all be replaced at Villa, because they just they don't have enough on their days today. You don't say that with Kamara very often, do you? How often do we come here and say, on his day, he's brilliant, Kamara? Because generally, he's brilliant, isn't he? So you don't have to say that with him. And they're all very good footballers. I have no doubt about it that Bailey, Watkins, and obviously Coutinho are fantastic footballers, but they just don't do it enough. It's the old problem, consistency. If Traore's on the bench today, then Bailey's hooked well before the 82nd minute for me, because you just bring a like for like on. So those positions are going to be upgraded without question for me in the summer. And it's a shame because they've got a lot to offer, all of them. It's a bit different, like I was saying about Ramsey. I think he's young. He's still learning his game. And I think his levels have been really good consistently last season, especially. And I think he can regain that. I don't see Bailey, especially, having a run of games where he just consistently is really good all the time. He'll score the odd worldie. He'll have the odd 10 minutes when he looks electric, when you're off your seat. But so many times he'll pick the ball up and he just can't beat his man, or that final ball's not there, or he scuffs a shot. I don't know. It's a shame because I do think there's a player in there.
You've seen all that today, though, Justin. It's like the first 35 minutes, he did have me on the edge of my seat. But then after that, he fades, whether it was because Christensen had him in his back pocket and he lost confidence or whatever, or his little scuff shots. But I don't know. I just feel like he lacks conviction. I never think when he gets that ball in the box, he's going to drop his shoulder, get his shot away, and it's going to rip the back of the net. I never feel it. Never feel it with him. And even like
we don't see it enough. That's the problem. He can
and,
do it, and he has done it, but you don't see it enough.
and then when you see his head drop and he gets the ball again, he doesn't get me on the edge of my seat. Not like Young did and Grealish did, because I just feel like
he's a sulker,
once his
isn't
head
he?
goes, it's gone.
Yeah.
And he'll show too much of the ball. For a winger, he shows a lot of the ball to the fullback. He gives the fullback every chance of nicking it off him. And 9 times out of 10, when his head's gone, he's gone, isn't he?
You might as well drag him off, yeah.
I think what you're saying there on their day is right. And it's probably the reason why they're at Aston Villa at this moment in time, because the position we're in, we've been lower half Premier League, and you look at these signings and you're bagging them for 30 million and you're thinking, bloody hell, we've got a player. We've bagged Bailey, unreal. He ripped the Bundesliga up. Everyone was looking at him, and in the end, no one touched him. And then we got him for 30 million. And now you see sort of why.
He just hasn't replicated that form, has he, with us?
No. And if he did, and if he was, he'd probably be at he'd be at a bigger club than Aston Villa at this moment in time, wouldn't he? He'd be at Chelsea or somewhere like that. But they all looked at him for that inconsistency.
Anyway, Ryan.
Pardon?
They'll probably bid 100 million for him anyway in the summer.
Flipping hell, over 20 years. But that inconsistency is led to him not getting that big move and us stepping in.
Well, it's costing us in the short term, and it's going to cost him his place in the Villa squad in the long term. That's as simple as that.
I feel like that. Yeah, like you say, I can't see a consistent Bailey week in, week out, giving them levels that we know he can get to week in, week out.
Yeah, we said it after the window finished him with the likes of Bailey and Watkins, and not so much Coutinho, because I think his career is started winding down now. I think he'll go off to China or America or something and finish his career. But the likes of Bailey have still got years in the tank. They're just going to, they've got a chance here now for the next 16, 17 games to really establish themselves with Unai Emery and show him that they're worthy of a place in the squad, that they can do it week in, week out. And at the moment, they're just not doing that. And I also put players like Cash in there as well. Luca Dean definitely is in that position. I think players like Kamara aren't. I think Douglas Luiz aren't. I think they're putting in really good, consistent performances week in, week out. I think the back two are as well. The two centre-halves have been pretty consistent throughout as well. But there's far too many players within the 11 that just aren't showing him enough week in, week out, and that's the biggest problem with our consistency. That's the problem. We haven't got enough Kamaras that are putting the 7 and 8 out of 10 in every week in, week out. That makes the difference between finishing 11th and 7th, and that's the brutal reality of Premier League football, isn't it?
Yeah, but I would love nothing more to watch that Bailey. That superstar Bailey that we see briefly.
Amazing,
I'd love to watch that week in and week out, but it just doesn't seem to deliver, does it? And
who doesn't love a flying winger?
Yeah. I don't even think it's our form or anything. We give him everything. He's in a great position there.
Opportunity.
Yeah, he doesn't have to track back because he's part of the front two. He can just mince around that right-hand side, go undetected, pick it up, and he's free to run. He hasn't really got that much responsibility apart from a bit of pressing in when the opposition are playing out from the back as well. So he's been given the license
in that role, don't you?
Yeah, and he's been given that license, hasn't he? What more can you ask for?
Right, we'll move on then.
What delve a bit deep into Bailey there?
I know
we did. It's not a fact of digging him out. You just want more of him because
he's just one of them comments.
The Bailey fan club will be on our back.
Yeah, we're in trouble. So Watkins, I'll go 7. I think he took his goal really well. He was, if he didn't shoot for the second one, it wouldn't have got in. So again, what we sort of want is, because we've only got one striker, you want that one striker scoring goals, and he scored one and scored the second. So at the end of the day, that's what you want.
I think it's a 7 that should have been a 9 because he should have had a hat-trick today.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one he should have just he should have just buried. He had that one in that second half as well, where he sort of took it past the player, and he could have
couldn't get a strike off.
He couldn't get
One
the shot
too many
on, could he?
touches, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so he scored. So brilliant stuff. He's got 5 goals this season now. It's getting to double figures now towards the end of the season. But yeah, I think he took his goal well. Coutinho, when he came on, tried. It's not happening, is it? Moreno.
What was he miles offside for the goal? I couldn't really get a feel for it, and I haven't seen any.
He did, I think when the shot, it was when the shot happened, wasn't it? They were all sort of off. There was about 3 or 4 of them.
Was there?
I did think he looked a bit fitter though, Coutinho.
He's put himself a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, he got around the pitch a bit quicker.
I tell you, he definitely looks like he wants it to work at Villa. You can see in his mannerisms, and when he thought he'd scored, the reaction was fantastic. He looked straight up at his family, and he was beaming from ear to ear. You could see he was chuffed. So it's not for the want, isn't it? I just think he's just not the player he was. Unfortunately, it's gutting to have a player that's done what he's done, and he just can't replicate that form. It's such a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame because you just want him to. The thing is, we want everyone to do well, don't we? We want every player to do well. I want Bailey to do well. I want Buendia to do well. I want Watkins to do well. But like we always say on this podcast, we say what we see, and that's the only thing we can do. We go to the games, we watch all the games, and we just fans that comment on what we see. And if you agree, that's fine. If you disagree, fair enough. But yeah, I think we've been quite fair with those scores. For a 4-2 loss, there's quite a few 5s and 6s in there. So yeah, maybe I don't think we've been that harsh. Or Luca Dean's probably the lowest, and when Dia, man of the match for us, got an 8.
Without question.
I'll delve a bit deeper into this game on Monday. We'll have a debrief out, and then we'll just turn our attention to Manchester City, which will be a walk in the park. So let's see how we do. But
look forward to Justin's 3-0 score prediction to the Villa.
It'll be a different type of game because we have to set up differently, and Emmy will have a plan, and plan didn't quite work against Leicester. So it's all about learning, isn't it? So he's learning about sort of how far he can push things a little bit. So how far can he push the high line? How far can we live on the edge? So he's learning all these different types of things. But it's, even so, the start's been good. But we've, it's got to keep building, keep growing, and just try and, not even stay positive, because I think most Villa fans are pretty positive on the way things are going. But it's just that, when you do start to get that little bit of confidence when you're watching us and you're thinking, what, we'll turn up today, and we don't, you're kind of like, oh God,
disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, so
yeah, frustrating.
We'll live to fight another day, lads.
Definitely. So cheers everyone for watching. Go and check out and put your ratings in, and we will be back soon.
We're never away, are we, mate? We're never away.
I was going to say back tomorrow, but I don't know what day this is going out.
No day week it is.
Right. See you all later.